Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Nikki and I am the Managing Director of Ingenious Personnel, which is a recruitment company. If this is your very first time joining us on this platform, this is where we talk about recruitment, we talk about how to get employed, we talk about everything that has to do with careers. And on today's topic, we are going to talk about the 5 tips, or I'm going to share 5 tips of why employees leave employers. So let's get to the content. There's various reasons why employees leave employers, and I know that a lot of people have got different opinions or different reasons why they would leave their employers. So today I want to talk about the common reasons and the most normal reasons why employees would leave. And tip number 1 is if you have reached the ceiling in your business or in your company. So what does that mean? So it means that you have been in this position, in the same position for a number of years, and there's absolutely no growth for you to move within the organization. It means that you have had several conversations with your managers or with your team leaders in terms of asking for more work or more opportunities within the business, and you have just reached nothing. You've just reached the ceiling. So that is the most common reason that we come across as recruiters of why people leave employers. So if you are in that situation, I would advise you that you try every single avenue within your organization to try and move. Ask your employers, ask your team leaders, try and get more work if you can. If you have the capabilities of taking on more work, try that. Perhaps it might shift your focus onto focusing on something else. And if that absolutely doesn't work, then obviously you can look for another opportunity that will challenge you. So that is the first reason that employees leave their employers. Now let's move on to tip number 2. So tip number two, and the most common reason why employees leave their employers is if you have a non-existence relationship with your manager, with your direct manager. So sometimes, you find that employees are unhappy because they don't get along with the manager, or maybe the manager is rude, unpleasant, maybe the manager has no way of communicating, or maybe the manager is just plain abusive. So these are also reasons that could cause employees to leave their employers. You also find that some employers are happy working for the organization, but the relationship they have with their managers is unbearable. So that is the second reason why employees leave employers. If you are somebody that is in this sort of situation, my advice, what you can do is you can try and remedy the situation and be the bigger person, because you know what, it's things like this or situations like this that builds a person's character. So if you can, or if you have it within you, try and remedy the situation with your manager before finding or putting yourself back onto the market, because this is a chance for you to build your character. And another thing, if you leave not having to have done anything to remedy the situation, going to another organization, you might find yourself in the same situation. So if you absolutely cannot remedy or solve the situation with your manager, make sure that when you do make that move to leave to a different organization, You sit down and you gather your thoughts together and really understand what is it that you don't want your next manager or your next employer not to have. What are the characters that you don't want? What type of manager do you want going forth? So that is my second tip. Now let's move on to tip number 3. Tip number 3. So tip number 3 that could possibly make employees leave their employers is the culture fit, is the culture of the organization. Sometimes it is also the culture of the employee, because it's two ways. How do you know that you are not suited to the culture of your organization? Or how do you determine whether a culture of an organization is in line with who you are and what you stand for? So such questions that you need to ask or you need to listen to is what is the goal and the vision of the company? What is the mission status of the business? Where is the business going? And then you can talk to your colleagues around it and see if you and your colleagues are aligned or understand the mission or the vision of the company. If that is not the case, if the both of you have got two different opinions, then it could possibly mean that you are not a culture fit. Another thing that you should be listening to is when certain organization or managers, when they speak, are they making reference of we as the company or a team? Are they using words like we or us or team or a group? Or are they using words like I and myself? Those are the type of keywords that you should be listening to in a conversation to determine whether you are a culture fit to the business. Now, a culture fit is not just the company's mission or statements or goals, it is also your personality. Sometimes candidates do not align, their personalities do not align with the personalities or the culture that the business has already. So it is two ways. It can possibly be that the business or the business goals and the mission or the vision of the business is not aligned with your integrity, or it could be that you as a person, in terms of your personality, do not see yourself suiting within the culture that is already established by the business. So that is another reason why employees leave their employers. Now let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4. So tip number 4 that could make you leave your employer or that make employees leave their employers is if you get, in our space, you get passive candidates and you get active candidates. So the passive candidates are the ones that are not really looking for employment. They're very comfortable in where they're at. They're comfortable in their work. They're not really on the job market, but should a position that is enticing enough come their way, they would be open to the idea. So those are passive candidates. Then you get active candidates. Active candidates are the ones that are actively applying on the job market. They are seeking employment. They have taken the decision to put themselves out onto the job market. So that's the two different type of candidates that you find. Now my next tip, which is tip number 4, is going to talk about the passive candidates. These candidates are happy where they are. So it could be that, because they're happy where they are, they're not really looking for employment. However, should an enticing position come their way, they are open to the idea. They would entertain that. It could be also that even though they are passive and they're happy where they're at, maybe they are just working on certain projects or program that really, if they've given it much thought, they're not really happy about. And this new position, it's with a new company, it's with a different projects, they're working on various projects, and that could possibly grab their attention. Right. So that is tip number 4. That is another reason why candidates or why employees would leave their employers. My tip if you are that passive candidate, because I do not advise for anybody to leave the employer without another position or without trying to remedy where you at right now. So if you are that person, if you are a passive candidate, and maybe thinking about the other positions, and you're getting all these recruiters or hiring managers calling you and enticing you, trying to establish what is enticing with this role. Is it the money? Is it the projects? Is it the benefits? Just establish what is your problem. What is it that is making you excited about that position? And once you find that, then you can have a manager discussion with your current employer to try and see if they can maybe implement new projects that you can be part of, or maybe make suggestions. So if your reason is maybe benefits, make suggestions within your current employer to introduce such benefits before you leave your current employer and jump ship. Because you need to remember, the grass is really not greener on the other side. Even if you do leave, it's gonna be nice for 6 months, but I mean, if you're leaving for a problem, the problem is still gonna be there. So try and solve the problem where you at. If you cannot solve the problem where you at with your current employer, only at that time can you then think of making the move. So that is tip number 4. Now let's move on to our very last tip, tip number 5. Tip number 5, and this is our very last tip. So the other tip that could make employees leave their employers is if the employees has just found themselves in a like your attitude, in an uninterested position or uninterested role, where maybe all you do is just capture data the whole day, or maybe all you do is just pick up boxes and just you take boxes in and out the whole day. It's just candidates that have just found themselves in a position where they are not interested in the position, and they know for a fact that there is no room for me to move from this position. So if you are that person that is just feeling like I'm not interested, I'm so much more than this, then go for it. Because a lot of people, what they do is they sit in positions and they are scared to make the move, to think outside their current situation, or they are just scared to take a leap of faith and jump. But if you are that person that feels like I'm just so much more than the position that I'm in, and I've tried all the ways or solutions around me, but I'm just not getting there, then please, by all means, make that move, and then just take that leap of faith and just jump. So that is the last tip of the day. Thank you so much for being with me, listening to me, and I will see you next time on our next episode. If you have not subscribed onto our channel, make sure to like, share this content, and let's help everyone get employed. Thank you, and stay safe.